The first thing you need to do is select the images that you want to use in your film. And some of these might just need small adjustments, like tone, contrast. Some of them you might wish to make more contrasted in the style of Protic. If you go to Image Adjustments, Threshold, you can reduce those photographs to just black and white. It removes all the mid-tones. And then when you first select Threshold, you have this graph you can adjust more. And once you're happy, you can select OK. So I'm just going to manipulate some of my images so that they're ready for me to combine together. And now I'm going to make my blank document that I will combine my images on. So I need the height, it's going to be a custom size, so I need to make the height 20 because all my images are 20, resolution 200 like my images, but I need to make it 45 centimetres, so it's got more of a panorama appearance, so it's much wider than a standard print. So I've made that 45 and then create. Now at the moment it's white, but I want it to be black like Protix, so I'm going to make sure that black is selected and then fill it. So what I'm going to do now is start to put pairs of images together, or perhaps 3 images together. Now these might suggest a contrast, like artificial, natural, inside, outside, or they might be all the same theme. So I'm copying the image that I want and pasting it onto my new document. So I like this pair because one is natural, the skin, and one is artificial. This is a concrete pour that I had in the house at the start of lockdown. And I feel like the lines are similar, but they're different enough. I'm just going to move that in a bit. Okay, so that's my first combination. So I'll go File, Save As, save it on my computer as Edit 1, and make sure it's a JPEG. Okay. But the file that I'm working on here is still a PSD file, so I still have my layers, so I can hide those. And now I can find other images that I want to put together. So I'm going to choose me queuing up for Tesco. And I like it on the left because it looks like it's moving towards the right. And then perhaps what I might have here is a small section of this. So I'm going to copy that again and have it on that side. But maybe crop it so that I don't have so much, because the image that I have on the left is quite big. So I might do that. And then File, Save As, save on your computer. Now that obviously that's my Edit 2. Save it to JPEG. There we go. I've now made 5 edits, and as you can see, all my images are stacked up on top of each other. So I can start to make other combinations and then move things around. Like, they don't have to stay where they are. I can really easily move things to where I want them to be. But it's quite useful that everything's already in the stack. So I just want to see that as well. So you can reveal by selecting the eyes on the left of each of the icons for your layers. You can re-reveal some of your pieces and then save that as other edits. So now I've got 7 edits in this format. So I'm going to change them into a GIF. So I go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack, and then I have this window and I have to browse for my images, which are there. So I've got edit 1 to 7. It presents me with them there, and then I can click OK. So you can check them, check that they're all there. So what Photoshop does is it stacks them all on top of each other. Now, to do anything with that, you need to be able to see them in a timeline. So go to your window, open timeline, and you want to create a frame animation. Now, at the moment, we still don't have lots of frames. We only have them stacked all on top of each other. So in the menu at the top right of the timeline, you need to select Make Frames From Layers. Now, if I click play, it will jump through all my images really quickly, but on a loop forever. Now, that's way too fast. And what we know from Protic is that different images stay for different amounts of time. So you can begin to alter the amount of time we see these images depending on, well, what you want really. I think I want to move that. You can also drag your images around so they're in a different order. Like when I made mine, I wasn't really thinking about an order very much. So the last couple, that's probably not good to have 2 long ones next to each other. So now when I play it, things are there for a different amount of time. And you can come up with your own rhythm. So now that you have your GIF timed as you want it, we need to add some sound. So we need to change the format from the slide animation to video. So in the bottom left corner of your timeline window, it says, I mean, if I hover over it, you can see it says convert to video timeline. So that's what we need to do. Now I've dragged the bottom down so you can see all of my images. And when your images end, so depending on how many you have, you will find an audio track box. So if I go to the plus sign on the right of that, I can add an audio, and then I need to browse for it, which I think is, see that one? Now at the moment, my audio is much longer than my clips. So I need to crop it. So I'm going to just click the end and drag it. Now, it is actually a recording. I'll play it. It's just a recording of birds, I think, at my back door. So it doesn't really matter that it might finish abruptly, but you could actually fade it out. So if I click on the arrow that's to the right of that green bar, they make it green so you can differentiate between your images and your sounds. So if I click on that, I can fade it out. So I'm going to fade it out by ½ a second, like that. So it'll gradually fade out, because then I can add another track. So I go again to the plus and then hopefully choose a different recording. I know it's that one. And again, it's too long. So I'm going to edit it down just by cropping it like that. And again, I want it to fade out. This is an artificial sound. This is the fan in my downstairs loo. If you ever wanted to know what that sounded like. So I'm going to fade that out. Again, for ½ a second. So now when I play it, it goes like that. It's a bit ugly and it's a little bit crude, and so perhaps you could slow your GIF down a little bit and maybe edit your sounds to fit with your images more than I've done. Let's just play it so when we can see the images. I actually like how the electrical sound is with something that's quite natural and intimate. So I kind of like that contrast. So there might be happy accidents that occur. So when you've done that, you need to save it. So we go File, Export, Save for Web, And you need to make sure that it's below 10 megabytes. So at the moment it's not. And rather than going back into my GIF and changing the image size or resolution or anything like that, I can simply change my percent. So I've changed my percent there just by 5, lowered it by 5%, press return on my keyboard, and it's just going to think about it a little bit. And now it's still a little bit too big. So we'll go to 90, press return on my keyboard. Okay, perfect. You need to double check that it loops forever. And then once you've done that, you can click save. And then it will ask you where you want to save it, and make sure you give it a sensible name that you can identify. So GIF edit 1 C for our photographer, and it's on my desktop. If you find that you've saved your GIF that way, but you lose the sound, then you can try it another way. So it's File, Export, Render Video, give it a name. So the Gif Response, MP4. I'm going to put it on my desktop, it's already selected. You want to make sure that it still says start frame 0 to end frame 101. I have made the mistake before of just changing 101 to the number of slides that number of images that I use. It doesn't work. So just keep that as 101 and then render, and then it will export your video in a format that you can upload it to your Weebly. The only problem is it doesn't have it on a loop. So that's the only frustrating thing. So now when I play it, it just plays it once.